All right, so at the recording of this video, Jessica is a couple days off from dropping here in Louisville, but we're gonna go ahead and talk about her kit and everything that she involves, just to kind of make sure that you guys have a complete understanding of what all is going on in her kit, right? To summarize, the character again is a poison DPS. She synergizes very well with that poison and enabling her to get extra damage, and not just a small amount, a pretty significant amount of damage from fighting enemies that are poisoned, right? So when we look at her skills, a lot of them have poison. Her ult applies poison to enemies for 2 rounds, and then she has her skills where for each additional stack of poison they deal a percentage of more damage, right? So first skill is 20% up to a maximum of 40. Level 2 is 30 up to 60, and level 3 is 50 up to 100%. Extra reality damage. And same thing for her mass attack. It does the same thing where it gets more reality damage if the target is in stats down, negative status, or control statuses, right? So this one doesn't necessarily have to be poison, but poison is a negative status. But if you also have like any stats downs, this also boosts it as well. And then we have her Insight 1. When attacking an enemy afflicted with poison, the damage dealt is increased by 20%. And then she can also inflict it every 3 rounds. Round 1, 3, 6, 9, right? She can also inflict poison. And then on her Insight 3, if the enemies do not have poison when she attacks them, she will inflict poison on to them. So she has ways by herself to inflict poison. Also, a way to kind of like just refresh that to help enable her kit, right? Because even though there are like other poison characters, poison supports, the character still needs to function on their own, right? In order for them to be a actual viable character, right? So, pretty much, again, with her kit, you're going to use her skills depending on the situation. You know, the mass attack, attacking 2 enemies. You can use that if you don't necessarily have your poison, right? As long as you have like a stats down or something, then this can proc the Insight 3. And then if you're wanting to maximize your damage, you can save the single target skill until you do have the amount of poison stacks that you need, and then you can pretty much blow up the enemy. And then also remember, as you're gaining Moxie with her ult can apply poison as well as a mass attacker. She is mostly going to be perfect in more or less AoE situations, right? Her single target does do a lot of damage, but with her having an AoE ult and an AoE skill, she's gonna be primarily a really great AoE character, especially with the amount of poisons that she can spread, and kind of allow that Genesis damage on the poison to really stack up and add up, right? So when we look at plant, right, we haven't had a plant 6-star for DPS yet, so that is a strong contender as a reason to summon for her. The first healer that most of us got introduced to was Sotheby, who is a really good pairing with her because Sotheby applies poison, right? If most of you have been following me, you've heard me talk about Sotheby pairs very well with Jessica, right? Same thing as like Bjorn Bloom as a support. We already know all of that, right? But there's some of you who are still questioning, do I get Jessica if I don't have Sotheby? The answer is somewhat complicated, but also not. Jessica is still a great character that is plant that can still apply poison to still do a lot of damage. It's just that Sotheby allows her to maximize her damage, right? So if you're needing a plant DPS, Jessica by herself works very well because she's still a strong character, right? She can still apply that poison. She can still do extra damage, right? So if you're wanting to pass Limbo, if you're wanting to do Utu, do any of these stages, she's going to be very good for all of that, right? What it comes into is like, where are your summons at? How many summons did you put on Tooth Fairy? And are you going to be skipping some characters coming up, right? So because, and the reason why I'm saying this is because there are a lot of plant characters right now that are very good, right? Annalee's very good, Bjorn Bloom's very good, Druvis and Satsuki are really good, right? So they are plant characters that can make up for you in plant where you're lacking. But if you necessarily don't have them built up, you're not wanting to use them as DPS, then Jessica's very good for you. Also, if you if you are worried about the fact you don't have Sotheby, in 1.3, Conjura will come out. She'll be with the Shemaine banner. But I will say, if you were only pulling Jessica because you think you can get Conjura, remember, pulling a 5-star is very difficult in this game. It is pretty much a meme. And you will be most likely grabbing Shemaine before you even get Conjura. It's not a joke. It happens. It's very difficult to pull 5-stars. So do be careful. I don't want you guys dropping 40, 50, 60 summons on a banner trying to get a 5-star. And you end up maybe messing up your pity or messing up the amount of summons that you have, right? So if you can't get Conjura early and you don't have Sotheby, you also have the Golden Thread. You could try to take a chance at, right? Try to get Golden Thread 1 to get Sotheby. But other than that, just get Jessica. Use her with Bjorn Bloom or with Diggers or Ann Lee and pasture plant content that way versus trying to maximize the poison. You could still do a Jessica Rabies scene if you want, like just to kind of copium, but just boost her damage, right? You can just use Rabies like a support like anything else and just have them apply poison on Insight 1 to help boost her damage, and then just have a healer, right? So that is another option for you versus pulling too much for Conjura, right? But yeah, and then a lot of people are worried like with raids and stuff. Now we haven't had a raid that is in plant favor. We have had Limbo in CN, which like even my account not having a Jessica on CN is lacking. I wish I did have her build up, so I have to build up an Ann Lee and Bjorn Bloom to make up for a Jessica, right? So like 2 characters to make up for 1. But I will say though, as another positive, Genesis damage, which I'll make a whole separate video on this, but Genesis damage on the poison is very strong, especially in in-game content. So that is something to think about with plant when you're looking at it versus some of the other elements. That Genesis damage is pretty strong, especially when there's multiple enemies. But guys, yeah, so all in all, to summarize, Jessica is a really strong plant DPS. If you're needing a plant DPS, go ahead for Jessica. Even if you don't have the poison, she'll be a huge benefit for your team. Again, there's tons of content where there's multiple enemies. We have Utu coming up. You got Limbo, you got hard mode on a lot of stages. So you do want to have a Jessica to help out because she is very strong. Her base damage without even critting does a lot of damage. But guys, if you have any more questions, anything, let me know in the comment section, or if you want to say something about what I said, let me know in the comments. Like the video if it was very helpful to you. Make sure to join the Discord. It's continually growing. Join the live streams by clicking the bell. You know when we go live. And then sub up to the channel if you enjoy this content. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. You lucky gamers, have a good one. Lucky Lux out.